So what are the subjects which could be useful in this area? Fortunately, the old computer science stuff, electrical engineering stuff are still useful. Okay, you still remember some machine learning stuff, some hypothesis test, basic networks, principal components. How many people use the principal components in the last 1 year? How many? Good, at least some of you. Principal component analysis have been around for hundreds of years. Okay, since day one, there's some eigenvalue kind of ideas people have been using that, but it's still useful for data, for big data analysis. We still use those tricks. Electrical engineering guys talk about detecting estimation. They are relevant indeed. And recently, the machine learning is getting to be really hot. This is yet another hot area you have to watch. Okay. A lot of people equate big data analysis to learning to machine learning. Machine learning now is on New York Times front page. A couple weeks ago, New York Times has a front page article, "Scientists sees promise in deep learning programs." I saw those headlines like 30 years ago. Never worked. All days neural net guys. You remember those period of time? They said you can train artificial neural net. You learn things in addition to learn things how to control a war, washing machines. You can control elevators. You can control missile firing. You can diagnostic people's health issues. All this stuff, they didn't really quite work at the end. Was because the problem was really too hard. But recently, there's some real interesting development which make the neural net different. Anybody knows what's deep learning? Yeah? Yes, say it. Yeah. A lot of layers. But that was what the neural net guys did 30 years ago.
That time they cannot train a good network with a lot of layers.
You mean the computer was too slow at that time?
I'm not sure, but
if the computer was the only reason the thing was slow, made the thing not working, we were in very good shape. It's a much serious issue. You know, at that time they were training multiple layers of neural net at one shot. They used the output of neural net as input to train all the weights inside the neural net. That was the old days. But now they don't do that anymore. They train every layer separately. Every layer has a separate new representation. As for example, when you recognize faces, you first recognize the lines. That's the bottom layer. Then you because the lines are kind of easy to recognize, and in a small area you recognize lines really well. So do the bottom layer, you do the local recognitions of lines and so on. A layer up, you start recognizing mouths. Okay. And up there, you start to recognize the faces, how the eyes and the nose are put together. But they don't use modeling. If they use modeling, you never model people's face and nose correctly. There are too many variations. So what they have done now is every layer going up, they use the reliable information from the layer below. Start putting the local information reliably put together, they form a higher layer representation. And the higher representations, they use, for example, the mouse cannot go the other direction, right? so they know certain things should be ruled out. So every layer, they do separate training. If mathematically speaking, mean, theoretically speaking, what we're doing is we compute a sparse representation at every layer, going higher. At the top, you have very sparse representation between the relationship between your nose, mouth, eyebrows, eyes, and so on. And then use that representation to match with millions of faces. You're going to get faces. So the difference today is different. If people figured out a little better than 20, 30 years ago, is that they do separate training at each layer, so they get different, better representations every layer, rather than in one shot. But that neural net stuff is still not quite right. You know what? The neural net, what I'm talking about is hierarchical inference, okay? Going there, going up. It's all going from the front to the back. You know, people know in the brain, the channel from the back to the front is twice as wide as the channel from front to the back. Nobody seems to know how to do the other side, do the feedback. We don't know that yet. But even we know a little bit from front to the back, we already do a pretty good job now. The face recognition today is done by this new way of doing the neural net. It's the best face recognition in the field. Google use it, Facebook uses it. It's the best. It's much better than your homemade program. Okay. So things are changing indeed. We do have some good news. Mathematical models will be very useful for you to figure out how the information propagates over the net. I'll give you some examples. How people will feel like to join a social network because they think if I'm on that social network, I will be able to talk to a lot of people I care about. Censor the data so much so you want to do streaming on the fly. It cannot store censored data. Our privacy issues obviously is big, okay, but we can talk about too much. This is another 3 hours lecture, okay. The other item I already said a little bit is the database. All days we deal with relational database. We always use this so-called structured query languages, SQL. That's how you get the information out from a relational database called SQL. Use SQL. People realize the SQL will not work anymore because the data is no longer in the relational tables. So they say no SQL, right? But at the end, they don't say no SQL anymore because you know what? They say if there's no SQL, they wouldn't have any paycheck anymore. Because paycheck, you still need a relational database. You still need a better database which will guarantee consistency, which I'll talk about next. So now they don't say no SQL, they say not only SQL. This is something I want to say now. There's a theory which says, it's by a professor from UC Berkeley, Eric Brewer. A dozen years ago, he said, if you want to build a distributed system very big, you cannot have all the 3 attributes together. You only can have at most 2 of the 3. The 3 are consistency, availability, condition tolerant. You cannot have all the 3. It's impossible to build a system which is consistent and also partition tolerant. You know, partition tolerant means I can break the system in half. The left half will not talk to the right half. If they don't talk to each other, how can you make sure the data here is consistent with data there? No way, right? So we cannot have both consistent and partition tolerant, obviously. you cannot have availability and consistency, but you don't want to have you also want to have a partition tolerant. You know, if you want availability, it means the system is always up. If the system is always up, your system must be highly redundant. It must have a lot of nodes in every place. That means, and you want the consistency, the nodes have to talk to each other all the time. That means you cannot have partition tolerant. As a matter of fact, a professor at MIT actually just wrote down those definition of the CAP and prove mathematically, indeed, it's true. You cannot have 3, you can have 2 at most. That means, this means a lot. This means when we build a big system, we cannot have all 3. We can only have 2. The 2 you usually choose will be availability and partition tolerant. Because if the system is not available, your customers will be mad, like Amazon. If the Amazon says, sorry, I can't, my store is not available for the next 5 minutes, come back after 5 to 5 minutes. They're terrible. Nobody will use Amazon anymore. Amazon would rather do the following. They will say, yeah, your shopping cart may not be totally consistent. Will probably take 2 minutes to be consistent. But no, that's all right. Sky's not going to fall. So what they are talking about is they don't ask for instant consistency. They talk about eventual consistency, so that the system can be highly available. On the other hand, the system can be highly scalable because it will be partition tolerant. Okay. So that's what we're doing. We're basically doing, so we're not going to insist on everything like a relational database. Everything you read reflects whatever the database, the last write. We don't insist on that. For shopping cart, you don't insist on it. For your paycheck, you have to insist on that. But fortunately, the number of people who have to receive pays is very small. A constant number of 50 people, no matter how population grows, it's nothing. It's a small number, okay? So that's the good news is that we don't need consistency for all the places where data grows very fast. That's how we deal.